Okay, the disposable income of consumers will increase. If the disposable income of consumers increase, what you have, there will be increased savings. If there is increased savings to GDP ratio will increase.
Are we on track with what you've seen in the power sector now?
Well, in a way, we are. I mean, take some of the reforms in the power sector, although it's not, we are anxious, we are expectant, and, we expect things to happen overnight, but it cannot happen overnight. I'm sure with a lot of patience, and if the government continues with the power sector reform, and they keep, pressing the lucky winners of the power reforms, the GENCOs and the DISCOs and what have you, if they are able to perform and we have stable electricity, I can tell you that cost of production will reduce substantially. If manufacturers pass the reduced cost of production to consumers, you can even experience a reduced inflation. If we have reduced inflation, what we'll have is that people will be able to have a little bit of savings to put aside, and with increased savings, there will be increased investment.
What about the issue of government policy in terms of investment environment, the amount of money saved, the amount of money put aside and all of that? How would that help to move us forward?
Well, government policies are very critical in anything we do. But we have to make sure that public expenditure is well directed, and we plug all sorts of leakages in our public expenditure. In fact, reduction of corruption is extremely important, because the corruption is anti-development, it's anti-growth. If we reduce corruption, however you do it, you will be able to promote development.
What about the monetary policy? Because there are rumors that it's likely to be raised, the monetary policy rates, that the MPR is likely to be raised. How would that help us moving forward?
Well, if the MPR is raised again, the savings, the investment, the lending rate will also be raised. But I think that as long as there are not enough savings in the economy, most of the savings are, you talked about government policies, for example. Recently, government, there was a lot of public, there's a sort of publicity about what they call GIFMIS. I don't know, the Government Integrated Financial Accounting System, whereby you have what you call a single treasury account. Well, if it works, it's going to reduce a lot of leakages in the system, if it works. But GIFMIS will work if also you don't forget that you are dealing with human beings, because you have the behavioral aspect of GIFMIS. What will make a civil servant want to create a special account? All right. So or what will make a director of internal revenue to take part of the revenue he collects for the government and puts it in an account which he can control? All sorts of so those behavioral aspects of government accounting system must also be tackled, even if you're having a government integrated financial management system, management information system. So we have a lot of reforms, but the reforms are not being implemented the way they should be implemented. To the letter. They are being implemented, but not to the letter. The procurement, for example, the Public Procurement Act is a very good one. But there are still a lot of leakages and what have you. And then you now create what you call thresholds, whereby as long as an MDA can award contract within its threshold, it doesn't have to go through the rigor of the public procurement. So there are a lot of things that we need to tighten up.
All right, I've got a question here from a ground lieutenant. He says, what's your take on the discovery of shale oil and then Iran back with the United States, and then oil theft in the country, in terms of the impacts on our economy?
Well, there are two ways of looking at it. One, if you take the oil theft for example, it means then that there's a lot of large loss of revenues to the government, to the Nigerian economy. So what we need to do is to reduce the oil theft. But then you ask us question: who are the people stealing the oil? It's an organized crime, big organized crime. It's not small people. It's an organized criminal gang. So if you can reduce that, now the shale oil, well, it depends on the demand for shale oil and the demand for Nigerian oil. If there's a shift in demand for that, then it will obviously affect not only Nigeria, all the OPEC countries. So it also means that which brings us to the question of spending our revenues very, very wisely. The sovereign wealth fund, like we said, whatever you can get now, make sure that you spend it wisely and you save it and you invest it, so that so you anticipate a rainy day. And because if there are alternative products, like shale oil or what have you, then the demand for oil and well, not demand. The demand will still be there, but the price will definitely come down, because at the moment we are enjoying a very high price, isn't it? And that's why we need to save some of it for the rainy day.
All right, I'd like to thank you for coming on. Professor Olasani Akintola Bello is a financial economist. Well, that's it today. Well, thank you all for watching it. But again, we'd like to also create indulgence of the Commissioner of Police in Rivers State. Apologies, we have to come back to our guest here. But we do hope that you will join us again tomorrow to just conclude your thoughts on those ones, if you would still like to. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
I'm Malta Igwe.
From Thanks, I'm Sulaiman Ahmed.